I want to talk today about giving feedback. There are lots of situations in academic life when one is asked to give feedback. If one's reviewing an article for a journal, the journal editors will want information, feedback as to why you've recommended to accept or reject the article and so on. And I also think that it's helpful for students to work collaboratively, to read each other's work. It's easier to learn how to be critical when you're reading someone else's work than when you're reading your own work. And when I say critical, I don't mean negative, I mean evaluative, to be able to give the strong indication of the good points and the bad points. It's rather easier to see that in other people's work than in your own. When you've become attached to some of your ideas, they appear good, even if they're not quite so good as you think they are. So I want to think about giving feedback and what kind of advice one should give when one's reading another person's work. Giving feedback, I think, is about, it's a skill that is related to active listening or appreciative feedback. It's about finding what's good in the work that you're reading and highlighting it. Tyrrell Burgess used to say that the least helpful feedback that you can get is, "This is not the paper I would have written." And yet, in spite of that, it's the advice that one gets most often. People read the paper and they say, "Oh yes, but I would have thought about this, I would have dealt with that topic." When you're giving feedback, you must concentrate on the idea that the person who's written the paper, the original author, has set the agenda. You're listening and responding to what they say, not to what is in your head. So the first thing is, you're looking for what is there. What is there may be hidden a little bit. It may be very compressed. If a person has been thinking about writing a paper for a long time, the ideas may be highly compressed. And if that's the case, you advise the person to expand. "I really found this idea interesting. Can you tell me more about it? You said that this followed from that one idea follows another. I don't quite see the connection. Perhaps you could spell it out. You referred to a particular author's framework, but you didn't give me a very clear indication of what that framework was about." So indicate to the person who's written the article, written the paper, what it was that you thought was dealt with too superficially, has skipped over. You wanted more depth, you wanted more explanation, you wanted more. And any author will appreciate that. You've found an idea that's of value and you're asking them to tell you more about it. They'll be thrilled to give you more information. But because they've been thinking about it and thinking about it, it's got into their head that it's a particular way of understanding it. You're reading it and you're thinking, "There's another way of understanding this. This is ambiguous. Why don't they explain to me exactly what this is going on here?" And you're helping, because you start from where the author has started, you are following up on their agenda. You're not saying, "I would have written about that, I would have written about the other thing." You're saying, "I've listened to you, I've heard what you're saying, and it's not quite clear to me. And if it's not quite clear to me, I'd like you to elaborate it," because what you're doing when giving feedback is you're helping the person who's writing the paper to tell it in the clearest and most helpful way possible. So you're trying to understand what they're saying and you're trying to make it clearer, more lucid, more connected. And one of the problems is that very often authors will, because they've got the ideas in their head very clearly, they'll jump over some of the links in the chain and not connect them properly. that's when they need to be told, this is a good idea, tell me more about it. The other mistake that you might be identifying is the opposite. You might find that the person's gone off the main point. What do you think their main point is? They're adding too much in the way of elaboration. They're adding too much in terms of clarification. As everybody knows this, we know all of this. You don't need to go into it in such painstaking depth. Advise them that they could thin it down, edit it, focus more clearly. It's always possible to focus more. I mean, that's one of the easy things if you're supervising postgraduate students. The first thing is always you're trying to do too much focused. You're trying to do too much in this thesis. You're trying to do too much in this research. Focus more closely. Focus, but don't just say focus for the sake of it. Show the person where they can focus more. Show that you're listening to what they've said. Show that you're reading what they've written, and that you know and can see how their argument could be sculpted out of the raw material more effectively by thinning some aspects out. And it's those elements to expand or contract where something's interesting, or to say, here's an idea, I've never thought of it this way before. I've never thought this way before, and because you've shown me, give me some illustrations, give me some explanation, give me some other aspects of this. This is a new idea. So this is a new idea. Give me some examples. This is something that hadn't occurred to me. How important is it? How much is this going on? Have other people said this before? I've never come across that. And because the person's been thinking about it the author's been thinking about it for a long time, it's possible that they haven't realised how startling that has been to you. And you'll invite them to expand and to elaborate it. So in every case, when you're giving feedback, you start from what the person has said, you appreciate them, you show that you've identified in what they've said what is positive, and then you give them a possibility, an indication as to where they might improve it. And this is what useful feedback is going to be like. It's going to help them to tell the story better that they already knew they wanted to tell. It's not saying, go and study this other area, go and look at this other aspect, I think you've got it wrong. You're not saying that. You're saying, you could tell this story better, and here's a way in which you could tell it better. And it's always a question of starting from where the author has got to. You're starting from the words of the author, and you're showing them where they can develop. It's a collaborative work in that sense. I'm shocked sometimes when a student who's starting out on a postgraduate program will say, I want to study this area. And you'll say, focus, or you'll say, give me some examples, or you'll say, explain. And when you ask those difficult questions, sometimes they will say, oh, perhaps I'm studying the wrong area, perhaps I should change my topic, perhaps I should move. No. These indications are that the paper is of interest and is going in the right direction, but it can be developed. You can say it better, you can say it more clearly. And don't be negative about the feedback you receive, because the purpose, if the reviewer, the person who's giving you feedback is doing this in the right spirit, they're helping you to say what you mean more clearly. So it's a collaboration between the author who presents material to a trusted advisor or to a reviewer who hands their work over. The reviewer's critical friend is giving feedback in a way that will help the story to be told more clearly. And that's a plus for everybody. It's a plus for the author because they get to write the best paper they can. And it's a plus for the reviewer because the reviewer is learning skills of standing back and evaluating. And if you can do it for other people's work, then before long you'll be able to do it for your own work. And your own work will improve because you've learned how to give feedback to other people.